Hey guys, welcome back to DCU Legacy. My name's Kai. Today's video is going to be about The Batman Part 2. This movie has been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. It is so annoying, but then it does give me time to come here and discuss it with you on what I would like to see in The Batman Part 2, and obviously for you to give me your thoughts down in the comments below. And just before today's video starts, I thought first off I would like to give a shout out to the Penguin for such great success and an amazing award season, and I'm just really proud of this show. I think it's so amazing, and anyone who hasn't seen it, I really do recommend you watch it. I think after the first episode you're going to be super hooked, and there's only like 8 episodes to watch, so you're going to binge through it pretty fast. But with discussions from Matt Reeves himself that as long as the script is right, there could be a season 2. I think now is a perfect time to binge it, and I truly think you will love it. I just think everybody who worked on this should be super proud, both on and off camera, behind the scenes. Big shout out obviously goes to Colin Farrell, Christine Milioti, I believe it's Renzi Feelers, I might be butchering that name and I do apologize, and then of course showrunner Lauren LaFranc. It's just an amazing show, honestly. There's not really much more I could say about it. If you want to hear more of my thoughts about the show, I did release a video last year when the show had just come to wrap up. And yeah, you can go check that out. I'll leave a link down in the bio, or maybe I'll try and put a link here. But yeah, getting back to the main focus of this video, The Batman Part 2. I, like many fans, have been patiently waiting for this movie, and to be honest, as of recently, just anything to come out about it. Now, as I said before, there have been many pushbacks with this, and sadly Matt Reeves himself did come out to say that some of these pushbacks have been to do with personal reasons. So I would just like to state that best wishes go to him and his family and friends. But as fans of the Batman, we kind of just take what we can get at the moment, whether that be rumors, theories from other fans, and just general discussion on the internet with YouTubers, Reddit pages, all that good stuff, you know. Today I thought I'd talk about the main 4 issues that seem to be circulating around this movie, and that of course is the old and new characters that will be showing up in this movie, the storylines throughout this movie and leading into the next, the connection this movie may have to the DCU and if they will connect it to the DCU, and of course probably the biggest discussion since the end of the first movie, the villain for this one. Now, as I said, I'm going to try and talk a little bit about all 4 of these topics. First off, I thought I'd start with the DCU connection. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say that, I'm going to try to explain it a little bit. So, ever since James Gunn and Peter Safran were announced by DC that they would be headlining, taking over the new DC universe and obviously rebranding it as the DCU, a lot of fans have sort of reached out and shouted their desires for Robin Pattinson's The Batman to be the main Batman in the DCU, which of course means he would be crossing over with the likes of David Cornsweet's Superman, which to be honest would be kind of cool, but I've got to be completely honest in myself, I personally don't really want to see this. I think the Batman universe is amazing. I think Robert Pattinson is doing a fantastic job. I just don't think he could be the DCU Batman, and that's for one simple reason. I want the DCU Batman to be more fantastical. I don't want it to be explained and somewhat believable, if that makes sense. I want to see Batman fall from the moon and survive. And yes, that does actually happen in the comics, and that's exactly why Robert Pattinson's Batman couldn't be in this universe. He's too grounded, and that's absolutely fine, but I think that's why we should keep him in his own universe, where he's just doing an amazing job at the moment, as are most of the cast and crew, and just the general vibe of that universe is completely different to what I would like to see in the DCU. But yeah, of course, let me know what you think of that down in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinion. Now, I thought I'd get that out of the way fast because the next 3 topics kind of link together, so I thought I would pile them together into the end. So starting off with, I thought I would discuss the old and new characters which will be involved in this movie. Now, I think there are 4 guaranteed characters to be in the sequel, and that, of course, is Robert Pattinson, Bruce Wayne, the Batman, because that's kind of a given. I mean, it's his movie. And then, of course, we'd have Andy Serkis as Alfred Pennyworth, Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon, and then, of course, the great Colin Farrell as Oz Cobb, the Penguin. All 4 of those characters basically have tenure in this universe. I mean, we've outright had it confirmed by Colin Farrell that he signed a 3-movie deal, which means the Penguin doesn't count because obviously it's not a movie. He's only done 1 movie. It's basically guaranteed to be in the next two, unless they're planning on making some sort of villain movie connected in this universe, which could be very cool. I just don't think that's the movie he signed on to do, but he might sign a new contract to do so. Only time will tell with that one. I also think we're going to get appearances from Chief Mackenzie and Bella Royale. Being city officials, I think it's almost guaranteed that they're going to be in this movie. Especially Bella Royale. She's had plot lines not only in the first movie, but again in The Penguin. And I do think we're going to see how those start to build up a little bit more, as her mission is to save Gotham and make it a safer place. And then for Chief Mackenzie, I don't know. I kind of think it would be kind of cool if this was his last movie, maybe leaving the road open for a new commissioner. But again, we'll just have to wait and see for that one. And then I think other possible returning roles would be Paul Dano as the Riddler, whether that be a cameo or a straight up investigation in Arkham. And obviously that could lead to a second cameo from this universe as the Joker, which is played by Barry Keoghan. And that would just be very interesting to get more of that character and to see if they kind of retcon his look, because I know there's been a bit of backlash. Some people like the look, some people think it's a little bit too messed up. I personally would like a bit cleaner of a Joker look, but I get what they're going for. And to be honest, if we're going to get Joker in the DCU, I'm not that fussed what they do with this one. I love this universe again, but considering we're going to get two of pretty much everything that happens in this, I'm kind of happy if they take a few more liberties with the Batman universe, the Reeves universe. I do go on to talk about this a little bit more throughout the video, but we'll get to that when we get to that. And my last two ideas for returning characters would be Zoe Kravitz, Selena Kyle, Catwoman, and of course, Kristen Miliotti's Sophia Falcone, the Hangman. After the setup that was left in The Penguin, I think we kind of have to revisit this, even if it is just an end credit scene kind of linking this to maybe a spin-off series or movie starring these two, or if they're actually in it and they're kind of like a second storyline throughout it. I think that would be really cool. I mean, come on, they can't hint at this sister duo and not give us a little bit more in the next movie, right? Now, let's get to the juicy bit, which of course is new characters, which does end up leading into villains. However, I do have two protagonists that I would like to mention. I personally think it's not guaranteed, of course, because nothing's been confirmed and you never know how the script's going to go and filming and such. But I think Dick Grayson is going to turn up in this movie, and I really hope he does too. I also think we might get a cameo, if not even a little setup for Barbara Gordon. And when I come to pick my villain, I can kind of discuss more why I think Dick Grayson might be in this movie and potentially the next one. But just plain and simple, I'd like to state that I think both of them should be in this movie, just because I don't think they're going to be playing kids, of course, in the DCU. It being a lived-in universe already, and Batman is already on Damian Wayne. I think Barbara is already going to be Oracle, maybe Batgirl part-time, and of course, our boy Dick Grayson is 100% going to be Nightwing. And as much as I love that, I still want to see a bit of an origin, even if it's not connected to that universe. And I think that's where Matt Reeves has, like, the perfect chance to do that. No, I don't think Dick Grayson as Robin has ever really been done right live action on the silver screen. So I think now is the time for him to do that, and I think it could be perfect. And I'm not saying Barbara Gordon would definitely even be Batgirl in this. I think it would be cool if we eventually got to that. I do think this universe could go further than a trilogy and some spin-offs. So hopefully that is where it's going. But I think we should definitely at least get a Robin. And I mean, I know we all want the same thing. So come on, Matt Reeves, do it for us. And now let's get to the biggest topic of this discussion, which of course is the villains. Now, I have three top contenders when it comes to the villains, and of course these are personal choices. One of them is an absolute fan favorite and has been rumored, teased, leaked by some people's standards, I guess, and that of course is Mr. Freeze. I think it would be perfect. I also kind of like the idea of Firefly. I haven't really heard anyone talk about that one, but I think that one could kind of, one, give him a bit of revenge after his appearance being cancelled in the Batgirl movie, and of course two, I think it would just be a really cool story and it could really channel some energy from the first movie. We'll get into that in a bit in a second. And then my last pick would be Black Mask. Again, I'm going to get into this a bit more in a second. So let's start off with Firefly and why I think he would be a pretty cool character to use as the second movie villain. Now, I personally think Firefly can hit great success like the first Batman movie if Matt Reeves and DC just want another detective crime story. We can have him being his typical arson self, setting fires and leaving clues all over the city, but not being as flamboyant and obvious as he usually is in the comics and obviously sometimes in TV shows. I do think he's a cool character, and it would be really cool, and I wouldn't be mad at this at all, which of course is why he is my third pick. But I do think we do need to shake it up a little bit. It's a bit too similar to the first one, and even though they could make it work with a few twists here and there, I definitely think the next two choices bring a lot more to a movie and hopefully to the audience. And that of course brings us to Mr. Freeze, Victor Fres. He is definitely like a fan favorite for months now, potentially even years. I mean, the movie came out in 2022, and I'm pretty sure it was rumored the next year that people wanted him to be the villain. I think it could definitely work. One of the YouTubers I watch quite often, his name is Boba Talks. You should definitely check him out. He's amazing. His knowledge on just everything, comics, DC, Star Wars, Marvel, everything is just amazing, and the way he talks about it all, and he just seems to get a lot of scoops quite fast. He's got a theory that if they did do Mr. Freeze, they could make him somewhat a gangster. He somewhat jokes about it, how it could be like, instead of having like a freeze gun, he just freezes people instead of like making them sleep with the fishes, which would be very cool. But the other reason I think Mr. Freeze would just be very good to do in a movie is it basically is guaranteed to be a compelling, sad story, leaving the audience not knowing which character to side with. And for those who don't know, Victor Fres is usually a scientist on a mission to revive the health of his cryogenically frozen wife, Nora Fres. Sometimes this does change depending on iterations, and sometimes she's just not his wife at all, and it's just a woman he finds. I don't think they're going to go with that route, because I think that would be kind of weird to see on screen, but then who knows? Could work. I mean, Paul Dano's Riddler is a bit of a freak. People still love that, so I don't know. Maybe they can make it work. However, the first option definitely has potential to be an amazing, beautiful, sad story. Again, of course, with a lot of detective work, Reeves' universe is very much based on that. But yeah, it could just add a new aspect to this universe and this sequel, and I think that would be a really cool take to go ahead with. I am really leaning towards my last pick though, which is kind of why I'm discussing him last, because I think the Black Mask has potential to have a more open world aspect than the former two. And I'm going to explain that in my own little weird way on why I think that. But first, I would just like to state that the Black Mask is having amazing success right now in the absolute Batman universe. And to be completely honest, if they took a lot of inspiration from that, I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I actually think that Black Mask could work very well in the Batman universe, so it'd be very cool to see. But yeah, going back to the open world building, for those who don't know and potentially do, the Black Mask usually has a connection to Killer Croc, and Killer Croc sometimes has a connection to Dick Grayson. As I said, it would all come full circle. I think this would be really cool to have like the Black Mask doing his thing. He's got his lackey in Killer Croc, and then at some point in this movie, when we get introduced to Robin, maybe there's a bit of an interaction between him and Killer Croc. The connection between those two is usually that Waylon Jones, again, Killer Croc for those who don't know, is a freak at the Haley Circus, which is where the Flying Graysons performed before Dick's parents were taken from him. He usually resents the human acts because obviously he is a freak, and he is mistreated not only by the people that come to the circus, but also some of the staff at the circus. Now, it's not necessarily the Graysons, because most of the time they are pretty good people, but resent's resent, and sometimes it is hard to separate who's nice and who's good, especially when you are considered a monster by most. So it could be really, again, compelling, and just a cool story to kind of see play out while Batman is like chasing down the Black Mask, or having that sort of side. It means that Dick Grayson would have sort of a mission of his own, and I think that'd be kind of cool. So he's not just kind of there for the sake of being there. But yeah, we'll kind of, I don't know. We don't know what they're going to do really, but it would be kind of cool. Now, I'm not really sure which one of these I would like to see the most. I think it's definitely between the latter two, and I do honestly think that Roman and Victor could easily tie into the Court of Owls, who I think should be the overarching villain of the Batverse. That, of course, is an opinion of my own. That's shared with like a lot of fans of this universe. I mean, it's probably one of the most popular opinions and theories and ideas for this universe, next to Victor Freeze. But yeah, I mean, there's been so many like teasers towards this, and it just seems like it fits this universe so well. I can't see how they wouldn't do it. But yeah, I think Victor Freeze, especially in the new Gotham Knights game, for those who played it and some who may not have, I actually quite enjoyed it, to be completely honest, has a connection to the Court of Owls. And I think Roman could easily have that connection, considering he is rich and powerful. Why wouldn't he somewhat be connected? And he's quite public about himself, so why wouldn't they try to work through him or at least connect with him? But yeah, anyway, that's not this movie, and we can discuss that a little bit later and in another video. But for now, we're going to talk about the storylines. After everything just said about villains, obviously in order to talk about the storyline of this movie, kind of need to pick one in order to make it work. But I'm kind of cheating because I'm picking both Victor Fries and the Black Mask. I think Victor Fries should be the villain of the Batman Part 2, but I think we should have seeds laid, or at least a cameo from Roman and Waylon throughout this movie to kind of set them up in the third. And also, just quickly before I go on to talk about the storyline and everything like that, because I didn't really explain it earlier, a lot of people probably thinking like I spoke about Mr. Freeze somehow being grounded a bit more, but I keep talking about Killer Croc and I haven't really mentioned whether or not he'd be grounded. Yes, of course he would definitely be grounded. I was doing a bit of research into it all anyway, but I actually stumbled upon somebody on Reddit who posted this. I can't remember their name, but I will tag them in the video there. And they kind of made a concept on how Killer Croc could be a human who just has a bit of a skin condition, but he is just a towering figure of a man. Skin condition, it's like scars, all that sort of stuff. And it's just like a nickname or like a criminal code name, that sort of thing. He doesn't actually need to be a crocodile, and I think that's fine. He's just a freak, which helps it tie into the whole circus background that I was talking about earlier. Back to the storyline. Having Mr. Freeze as the second movie villain is not only good for the same reasons I said earlier, it being compelling, sad, makes the audience think, is Batman right? Is Mr. Freeze right? Should he let him do what he needs to do in order to save his wife? It also means that we can introduce Barbara and Dick and slowly sort of build their characters up instead of introducing, especially Dick, into the second movie and immediately chucking him into not only the Robin costume, but being able to fight Killer Croc on his own, which would be kind of insane. I mean, unless they wanted to do like they defeat Black Mask, but they don't defeat Killer Croc, he comes back at a later point when Dick's ready. That'd be kind of cool, but I don't think that's what they're going to do. So I think we save that for the third movie. And we have Dick meet Bruce Wayne, meet Barbara Gordon. They build a little friendship. He discovers Bruce Wayne's secret. And then maybe he begins to train Dick in this movie so he can get revenge or seek the men who killed his family. And that's another little seed that I would like to plant in for the third movie. That Killer Croc was actually behind the murder of the Flying Graysons in the first place. And then that goes back to the Black Mask asking him to do so or bribing him to do so. Now, I know what you're thinking. Most of the time, Tony Zuko is the reason for the murder of the Flying Graysons, and you're absolutely right. But considering we're going to be getting two Dick Graysons, well, I hope we're going to be getting two Dick Graysons, the DCU's Nightwing can have that. He can have the original story, which means that the Reeves verse, the Batverse's Dick Grayson, its origin, it can be twisted a little bit. It can be changed a little bit, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, this is someone else's idea of how this universe should play out, and I think it's a way to just better connect the stories. It means, as I said before, Dick Grayson's got something to do if there was to have Black Mask and Killer Croc as a villain. So you've got Batman versus Black Mask, Killer Croc versus Robin. Most people would probably switch those two around, but as I said, with the connections, I think it'd be kind of cool if we kept it this way. But yeah, that's just me. Getting massively sidetracked yet again. We're talking about Mr. Freeze. I personally think I've not got a massive storyline on how I think this should all play out. I'm not a script writer. I'm not a writer, full stop. I think there's so many great stories to take inspiration from when it comes to Mr. Freeze and the Batman. But the only difference is it will need to be grounded. So like there's going to be tweaking this introduced. And as I said before, Boba Talks has an amazing idea and I think that could really work. We don't know yet. Matt Reeves might want to lean a little bit into the more fantastical, but we're just yet to see that. I mean, some universes do the whole grounded at first, and then eventually things start to build up. I'm not saying we're going to have Batman fall from the moon, because I just don't think that's the universe that he's going for, but there might be something. There's a little bit, makes Mr. Freeze not be completely changed as a character. After all, he's always a scientist, so I'm sure there's something that can be done. I mean, there's things you can do with liquid nitrogen to make things instantly freeze, so I'm sure we can make something work and make it make sense. But I mean, in the first movie, he has eye lenses that record shit, and he has a paraglider suit that is hidden within his bat suit. pops out of nowhere, and if you go back and play it back, it's very obvious that it's CGI. I'm not hating, I absolutely love that, but there is definitely elements of fantastical. I'm sure we can make something work. But yeah, that's all for today's video. Those are just some of my ideas of what I think could really work in this. And as I said, it was a bit of a cop-out because I'm basically using 3 villains, really. I mean, Mr. Freeze, Black Mask, Killer Croc, and I guess actually 4 with mention of the Court of Owls. But yeah, I'm sure as we're getting closer to the release date of this movie and we actually start getting trailers, my theories are either going to change because I'm going to be completely wrong, or potentially I could be right.
I doubt it.
And there could be seeds of all of these things, and that would be amazing if I just guessed that right in this video right now. Can't wait to come back and clip this when I'm completely wrong. Make sure to leave your thoughts down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.